Howdy folks, how are we doing? I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. I hope you're finding the love and you're witnessing the blessings that are there in life in these difficult and trying times. It is hard, my friends, but we're all in this one together. So I'm offering these devotions as my little bit of hope, doing what I can, playing my role, being a part of the solution. They are offered as a balm for the heart, the mind, the spirit and the soul. And the title for today's reflection is Deep is Your Treasure. So I invite us to still ourselves. Let's invite a loving presence to be here amongst us and to awaken from deep, deep within us all. I have lit the flame of freedom in the cup of belonging, acceptance and love. To worship is to stand in awe under a heaven of stars, before a flower, a leaf in sunlight, or a grain of sand. To worship is to work with dedication and with skill. It is to pause from work and listen to a strain of music. Worship is loneliness seeking communion. It is a thirsty land crying out for rain. Worship is the mystery within us reaching out to the mystery beyond. It is an inarticulate silence yearning to speak. It is the window of the moment open to the sky of the eternal. Words by Jacob Trapp. So let's worship together, if you like. Let's join together. Let's make our lives just an act of worship. Stand in awe at all of life. And let's do so in the spirit of love. A while ago, during a Living the Questions, Eddie that I host usually host before this all happened, a kind of spiritual and philosophical discussion group. But this month it was led by Eddie Tyndall, and he led an excellent conversation on how art speaks to us. Art does have a way to reach those parts of ourselves deep in our hearts that other media perhaps cannot. Maybe that's why we value it so much. So many of us treasure such works of art and artists too. During the conversation, John Poskett, a regular attender and member of one of the congregations, told us of a limited edition copy of a piece of Bob Dylan's art that had cost him a lot of money and that he was paying for in instalments, it seems. But it's something that he treasured deeply, and John is a great lover of the arts and an even greater lover of the work of Bob Dylan, I think. Now, before the conversation, actually that day, art had been in the news. It was a work of art by Banksy that had sold for over £10 million. It had eclipsed anything else that he had produced in the past by more than fivefold, actually. Someone pointed out that whoever was behind Banksy's promotional work must have been a genius. Because after all, he'd begun as a graffiti artist, but my goodness, not now. Now, as talented as Banksy is, and regardless of his mystique and clever promotional work, and regardless of the satire of the piece, it was a parliament of monkeys, actually, chimpanzees, I think, actually, at the time. So it was kind of depicting the scenes in the Houses of Parliament in England, a real satire on that. But despite all that, how the heck can any painting truly be worth £10 million? Seems obscene to me, actually. But of course, it's not just paintings and other art treasures that seem valued way beyond reason. Football's another example, something many of us are missing at the moment. I love football, but surely no footballer on earth is worth £200 million. Seems ridiculous, doesn't it? But apparently that's the market value for the best of the best. I'm sure there are things that we all value above anything else in life, that we treasure beyond measure. I wonder what it is that you treasure the most. What is beyond value in your life, your pearl of great price, that you would sell all that you have for? Is there anything or anyone that you treasure so much that you would give everything for? Something to ponder, perhaps. Some people devote their whole lives to these things that they treasure the most. The great stories of human history speak of heroes going on epic journeys in search of great treasures. Mythos from a variety of cultures tell tales of questing for such treasures, whether they are material objects or perhaps attempts to reach a certain goal or to manifest a dream. Think of the Arthurian legends, particularly the quest for the Holy Grail. Think of the biblical accounts, Moses and the Israelites, or Jesus' journey into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, a journey of sacrifice and transformation. Or perhaps the Native American initiation tradition of vision quests. Such journeys often included climbs to the summit of mountains, like the climb to the summit of Parnassus, the ancient mount of the Muse. While watching the Rugby World Cup last year, I noticed the symbol depicting Mount Fuji with the red sun rising behind it. The Japanese people consider Mount Fuji to be the point of contact between heaven and the underworld. Perhaps that's the ultimate journey, the final one, maybe. Many of these great adventures describe mythical themes depicting great feats such as climbing a mountain, or going off in solitude into a desert, or perhaps going into the heart of a forest searching, seeking, questing. Until, of course, it's time to come home with treasure to share. Now, of course, it's not just the great heroes that go on such quests. Ordinary people do too. Increasingly, people are going on pilgrimage. Nothing new in pilgrimage, by the way. All the great religious faiths have a tradition of pilgrimage within them. What is interesting, though, is that there seems to be a growing need to seek pilgrimage, even in our time and space, in these secular times. I even attended a Unitarian pilgrimage last year as I led worship at the triannual Rivington pilgrimage. I have to be honest though and say that it isn't a true pilgrimage, as you don't walk right far. Although for some of us that day, the journey to get to Rivington was quite a task in and of itself, because it was flooded from all sides. Several folks couldn't even get there, actually. They had to return home with no treasure. I know several people who have walked the Camino de Santiago, the pilgrimage route. The Camino is a path to the shrine of Santiago de Compostela in northern Spain. Since medieval times, people have made the pilgrimage to the cathedral there, and pilgrimage is of course central to many faith traditions, central to that Christian tradition, but also to Islam, where every believer is called to make at least one pilgrimage to Mecca in his or her lifetime. Now, at the core of these calls to pilgrimage is a universal human longing for growth, for becoming more than we were going, more than we thought we could, by going farther than we ever dared. Physical pilgrimage, of course. These are physical in nature, but these longings manifest themselves in walking, and somehow in this walk, this long walk, transformation occurs as we put one foot in front of the other, as we walk on pilgrimage, onward, onward, ever onward. The destination of such pilgrimages is a new horizon. Camino is the Atlantic Ocean, it seems, just staring out to this great big blue, a new horizon. A bit like the rising sun behind Mount Fuji, I suppose, too. Now, these are physical pilgrimages, and they can be beautifully transformative as we step one foot in front of the other. But I've discovered another kind of pilgrimage, a pilgrimage of the heart. Not a physical journey, but a deeply arduous one too. A journey not only to the heart, but to truly awakening the heart of the true frontier of humanity. And I suspect, at their heart, if you like, The ancient pilgrimages were really about this too. Certainly the stories were ones of transformation. And I've been thinking about the heart as I've been thinking about treasure. And I think perhaps our hearts are the greatest treasure of them all. The Talmud says God wants the heart. All life stems from and through the heart. In ancient times it was believed that the heart was the centre of human intelligence and the seat of the soul. According to Augustine of Hippo, the heart was a metaphor for our deepest and truest selves. He believed that union with God could only be achieved through the heart. It is through the heart that we begin to connect to our truest and our deepest selves. And through connecting to our deepest and deepest selves and thus awakening our hearts, we begin to act in loving and meaningful ways in this world. We can't act with compassion without our hearts. We will not act with true reason without the heart. In fact, reason can be deadly without compassion, without being led by the heart. And that's the true pilgrimage, the journey to the heart. As Howard Thurman once said, the longest journey is between the heart and the head. Thurman, the great mystic, theologian and educator, was critical of the tendency in the modern age to separate the heart from the intellect. Because you see, it's not only the body that is nourished through the heart, but our whole humanity. And that's why it's so vital to not only take care of our physical heart, although that is important, but the heart of our spirit too. And that requires the inner pilgrimage, the pilgrimage of silence. Silence has become an important and treasured aspect of the weekly worship that most Unitarian congregations share. Not the whole of the service, but a time for silence at the centre, at the heart of the service. I spend time in communal silence several times a week. I'm still doing so, even through Zoom, even these times of physical isolation, with others in silence together. Many times each week, more than normal actually. This silence enables me to reach that treasure at the core of myself and others too. It is vital to my life as food and water and exercises. I cannot live without silence. There was a special moment of silence last October at Dunham Road. Some 30 or more human hearts and perhaps 20 dog hearts all shared time together in reverential silence, just for a few minutes in the middle of our blessing of the animal service. And in that silence you could feel a deep power at work in this pure silence, so deep I could almost hear our hearts beating. It was one of the most beautiful silences I have ever shared. And that Sunday I was not the only one to feel it either. Several people commented to me afterwards just how special the experience was. Over 50 hearts beating as one. Is there a greater treasure in life? It was a beautiful spiritual journey to share together as we entered the caves of our hearts and helped awaken something beautiful within each and every one of us. You know, we each have a deep treasure within us, a treasure that needs to be nurtured and cared for and brought to life. It's a treasure that the world needs us to share with it. We need to take care of this priceless treasure and live from this beautiful gift. Do you know, if we do, we might just begin to bring alive that love that is divine. We might just begin to bring alive the kingdom of love that dwells within each and every one of us, that dwells in everything. The world awaits us, so let's take the great journey together. So I'm going to end this reflection with a few words of blessing. We need to bless more, and we can all bless. We bless by giving our whole hearts to life. So let's begin today. Let's give our whole hearts to life. May the God of justice and mercy unite us in compassionate solidarity with all those in need, that our lives may be just and merciful, and a source of her blessings to many. And may we carry a vision of that love with us, and may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. Amen.